Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Martha McCallum, and joining me today, Kennedy, the host of Kennedy on Fox Business, Fox News contributor Lisa Boothe, former NFL sideline reporter and host of Sideline Sanity's podcast, Michelle Tafoya, and former NFL player and Super Bowl champ. I just tried his ring on, Jake Bighead. Good job, everybody, with us today. So we begin with the lawmakers on both sides of the aisle demanding answers from President Biden after the United States military shot down a fourth object just yesterday, raising concerns about our national security, of course. Fighter jets took out objects, whatever they were, over Alaska, Canada, and Michigan. 3 of them in just the last 3 days. Boom, 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 over the weekend. The Pentagon says that it's the first time ever in North American Aerospace Defense Command has taken such action within the American airspace. But there is still not really an indication from the White House that President Biden will address the nation about what happened over the weekend. What does all this mean? Where is it going? Meanwhile, the Pentagon's not ruling anything out, and I mean anything, including the possibility that these are some objects of perhaps extraterrestrial origin.
Have you ruled out aliens or extraterrestrials, and if so, why? Because that is what everyone is asking us right now.
I'll let the intel community and the counterintelligence community figure that out. I haven't ruled out anything. At this point, we continue to assess every threat or potential threat unknown that approaches North America with an attempt to identify it.
Okay. Boy, there's a lot to talk about here today. I was just joking before we went on that we're the people who are not hungover from the Super Bowl. That's why we're all here today on the couch, feeling good. Didn't go to Arizona. I'm very happy to be here. Well, it's okay. Lisa's still working it off a little bit, but that's okay. But Jake, I want to start with you because you're a veteran. You played in the Super Bowl. You're watching world events very carefully, ran for office yourself. What do you make of the response that we've gotten from the White House?
Well, the lack of response. I mean, this is the low-T leadership of Joe Biden striking again, making America less safe, not exactly sending confidence to the American people and strength to our enemies. Joe Biden kind of plays the role. He's got his aviators, likes his muscle cars. That at the end of the day, every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine, speaking of someone who's just in the military, they know that we have a weak and feckless commander-in-chief. That's not good for our military, and it sends weakness abroad.
So one of the people who's been speaking out fairly prominently and did so on the Sunday shows was Chuck Schumer. He's been, I don't know, maybe the most prominent voice on all of this. Whether that should be the case or not, we don't know. But here's what he had to say on Sunday. Watch.
We got enormous intelligence information from surveilling the balloon as it went over the United States.
Didn't the Chinese get enormous intelligence as well?
Well, they could have been getting it anyway, but we have to know what they're doing, okay? And we don't know exactly, but we got a lot of that. And even more importantly, by shooting it down over water, U.S. waters, only 6 miles out from South Carolina, we're going to probably be able to piece together this whole surveillance balloon and know exactly what's going on. So that's a huge coup for the United States.
We don't know. Huge coup. We're not sure. Kennedy, what did you make of Senator Schumer's reassurance? Did you find that reassuring?
No, I mean, first of all, I'm like, he has as much information as my neighbor Pam. My neighbor Pam is lovely, and she watches the news, but she also has no idea. And I wouldn't call Pam to try and figure out what is spying on us, how many of them are there, what are they capable of intercepting communications, what kind of pictures can they take, what kind of intelligence can they gather that can be used against us. And if it is an extraterrestrial, that's even worse. Because the president seems so scared and confused that he has literally run away from this issue. So right now, we want to be hearing from the president. We want to be hearing from the Secretary of Defense. We want to hear from people who can go pew pew and actually protect us. Because a lot of people, they want us to be a peaceful and strong country. But if we are breached, if we are under attack, they want to know that we are capable of assessing and defending ourselves swiftly.
Absolutely. So we're about to hear in about a little under an hour from Karine Jean-Pierre at the White House. We're going to have a White House briefing coming up. John Kirby will also be there. Of course, he's a spokesperson for National Security Council for the country. So obviously they're going to get a ton of questions about what the heck is going on up there, Lisa. There's some suggestion, and one of our folks on the ground asked this question about whether or not it was maybe a weather balloon. And there's also some suggestion that it might have been one of ours. So there may be a little bit of egg on the face. We don't know. We're working on this story to confirm.
Well, all I've got to say is it's not a good time to take a hot air balloon ride. Since we're shooting everything down. But we went from Joe Biden saying that the Chinese spacecraft was not a major breach to now we're just shooting everything down.
Exactly.
And I don't, even if we did hear from this administration, I don't trust anything that we would be told. I mean, this is an administration that told us they took out a Taliban worker and it was actually, droning an aid worker and his family. And I also don't trust this administration's judgment, especially with the reports that we were the ones that potentially took out the Nord Stream pipelines, not Russia. So I don't even believe anything we've been told from this administration.
Yeah, okay. Not a major breach, I thought was a very significant comment from the Chinese, from the president about the Chinese. I also think, Michelle, when you look at this, I'm thinking, probably a good idea that we have a Space Force. There were people who laughed at the Space Force when President Trump put it together. I'm thinking this is probably a very important branch of the military at this point.
Well, then I'd love to hear from them, too, because we're not hearing anything. And Chuck Schumer, as you said, him saying this was a coup to get it over the water because we could collect everything is like saying it was a coup that we got more people airlifted out of Afghanistan than any other airlift in world history. He's trying to make lemonade out of some really sour lemons here. I think that there's been so much inconsistency. Oh, we don't need to shoot it down over land because we don't want to risk any lives, but we'll shoot it down over Lake Huron 4 days later or whatever it was. There's just been so much inconsistency. They either don't trust us to give us information, like they don't have faith that we can handle it. They don't have it, which is even scarier, or some kind of combination of the two. But it's
I'm going to go with C.
Yeah, you're going to go with all of the above? Yeah. It's like when you go to the airport and your flight's late and the weather's perfect and you're like, why is the flight late? And nobody tells you anything and you grow frustrated, just distrustful. It's all of those things that Joe Biden makes you feel because he won't talk. And then when he does talk, he says, look, mister, and he gets all hostile about it. So we want some straight answers, and it's about time we get it. There are balloons flying over this country, and we don't know what they're capable of.
Remember this video? Let's play this. This was from 2004, picked up by Navy sailors. Watch this. Okay, there's no audio on that, but what you would be hearing is their astonishment. What is that thing?
Yeah.
Things to that effect. This little tic-tac that was flipping around on the screen, and the naval aviators, Navy intelligence, not sure what that was, Jake. And now we get sort of revisiting these videos when we hear this discussion that maybe it is something extraterrestrial.
Yeah, the lack of clarity from the administration really is the story. And as a military officer, you know that decisiveness is the key. Right or wrong, even if you're wrong, making a swift and command-like decision can reassure your troops. And Joe Biden is not doing that. The silence is deafening. The American people want answers, and we're not getting it from this administration. It shows weakness. It shows cowardice. And until they come and stand up front and be heard on this, there's going to be more questions.
But would you trust anything they have to say? I think that's the challenge. Again, they've just lied to us about so many different things. Why would we believe anything this administration tells us?
Well, you know what? I think we're going to get some answers coming up at 1 o'clock. I think we're going to hear from John Kirby. And I think that they do hesitate to say until they are sure what they're talking about. They don't want to have to retract any of these statements. So we'll be listening at 1 o'clock when we sort of get a sense of all of this. And, I think we do need to hear from the president.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, it'd be one of the biggest roles of the presidency is to reassure people that you've got it under
That
control.
was supposed to be his biggest attribute, that he was empathetic, that he was a man of the people, that he could feel people's feelings. But the only feeling he has is that he's in deep yogurt, so he's got to run away. I'm worried that Mars Attacks was a documentary.
Yeah, if it is aliens, we come in peace.
Oh my gosh.
So
We're laughing, but stranger things, right?